So Tony Gilroy is back in the news. In the Star Wars news, he supports a new show, a spin-off of Andor with two main characters, one of them being the best, and that's Kleya. Of course, supporting the fans' requirement that Kleya continue the legacy, and it seems like she is the perfect character to actually carry it. But will Tony Gilroy actually be back? Will he be back to direct this spin-off? Because as of right now, Tony Gilroy is the king of Star Wars as it pertains to series. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are good, but Tony Gilroy is just great. However, by the looks of it, there's some bad news on that front because, well, Tony Gilroy has previously stated some very sus news. Is there any future for him in Star Wars again? And what is Kathleen Kennedy up to? What does the future for Star Wars actually look like? So we have a new article saying Andor creator never wants to make a show like Star Wars series ever again. So it's a new interview by The Hollywood Reporter. They discussed with Gilroy the immersive experience he had when making Andor. This is what he said in a nutshell, because it's pretty disappointing, and I was really disappointed in hearing him say this. Of course, there's a good sentiment as well, which I was glad to see, but you can kind of read between the lines that he is kind of done with Star Wars, and I think it's not because of the material, it's not because of the world, because as you can see here, he says, "I grew to love it." So he loves Star Wars, but guess who he doesn't love? Yep, it's the management, it's the team over there. I mean, cancellation after cancellation. Like, we have other things to talk about, don't worry about it. Here's George R.R. Martin talking about how Andor Season 2 was the best series he has seen. We also have Mark Hamill revealing that he won't return to Star Wars, and as I said, Katee Sackhoff saying she has been playing Bo-Katan craze broke her, and after The Mandalorian she lost all of her confidence. This is disturbing news all around, but we're going to start with Tony Gilroy, of course, one of the main catalysts for Star Wars being back again. After Mandalorian Season 2, basically all of it went downhill, not to talk about the sequel trilogy, of course. So he said to The Hollywood Reporter, he said, "I could see doing a limited series or something, but I can't see doing anything like that ever again. The 5.5 years, every single day of my life, I had maximally imaginative involvement that was never complete. Writing, designing, music, casting, all of it. Every demand on your imagination that you could ever be asked was screaming for your attention. That's pretty heady place to live. I grew to love it, but I can't imagine that I would ever be that fully engaged again." So you see, he's leaving the door ajar. He's not completely out, because he says, "I could see doing a limited series," or something to that effect, and he says, "I grew to love it," but there is something that he's saying here because of how taxing it was. He is kind of saying that it took a lot out of him, essentially giving you the indication that yes, he was involved in everything, and that's why Andor became what it became. It's a cult classic. It's going to be remembered, I think, for decades and decades to come. It's going to be like the original trilogy, because I hear people like watching Andor, people that didn't even care about Star Wars before. Like, people want to see Andor just because it's a great series, not because it's a great Star Wars series. You know what I mean? Also, just a quick mention, I also just saw Mr. Plinkett's What Happened to Star Wars ? And he goes in detail in here, like he talks about it almost immediately, that it's the abundance, it's the corporatization of Star Wars and the never-ending struggle. But the guys literally talk about what we've been saying, that Andor was a great series in and of itself. It's just a great show that doesn't need the Star Wars IP. So imagine if, for example, this was my fantasy all along, and I'm going to reveal it right here. My fantasy was that one day, Tony Gilroy, could possibly make a KOTOR series. He is by far the only person that can really do that, because as we talked about, like, KOTOR has the perfect setting for like a Tony Gilroy type of series. This side would be perfect. 4,000 years ago, you have two empires. You can have the feeling of George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, where you have great houses that would, of course, come into effect with the Republic, the Jedi Order, the Empire, the Sith Order, the Hut Cartel that existed even back then, Outer Rim criminal syndicates. you can have all of these houses intertwined, fighting against each other. You can show a different side of the Jedi Order 4,000 years ago. So it wasn't this Jedi Order that is so preoccupied with the semantics of everything. But apparently there's another reason why Tony Gilroy is kind of out, because Tony Gilroy says was right, Disney Plus is broke and now people are paying the price. So about a month ago, Tony Gilroy says here didn't hold back. While speaking to Making the Andor, he exposed just how much Disney spent and how quickly things changed behind the scenes. And this is kind of what I've been saying. This is the whole crux of the issue. In this interview, he's not telling all. He's saying that he is tired, but here we have kind of a different version. He says, I mean, for Disney, this is $650 million. For 24 episodes, I never took a note. We said, F the Empire in the first season. They said, can you please not do that? In season 2, they said, streaming is dead. We don't have the money we had before. So we fought hard about money, but they never cleaned anything up. That freedom comes with responsibilities. So Lucasfilm clearly here acknowledges the genius that is Tony Gilroy, but then behind the scenes, you have to understand how hard it is for you to want to do a set piece, for example. Think about the Gorman Massacre. Think about what if they didn't have the budget for that set piece. It wouldn't have that deep feeling that it had. I think that at the end of the day, this is why Tony Gilroy is saying this. He's saying that I could probably do a limited series or something, not 2 seasons like I did with Andor, and that's kind of sad to hear, honestly. Who here would love a KOTOR series with Tony Gilroy at the helm? Fuck it, with George R.R. Martin as a consultant, same as he was in Game of Thrones. Factions battling each other 4,000 years ago. The Sith are not hiding 4,000 years ago. They have a Sith empire fighting the Jedi Order, fighting the Republic, and you have criminal syndicates and Hutt cartels, and who knows, you can even do cultists, and you can do all sorts of stuff 4,000 years ago. It's a new canon. So you have the freedom to do that, and you're not bogged down by legend material, which KOTOR right now is. But outside of Tony Gilroy, as we've talked about, like he wants to move on from Star Wars and do other things, and hopefully one day we can see him back. This is another terrible news. Katee Sackhoff, in her podcast just recently, said that playing Bo-Katan Kryze broke her, and her career just took a nosedive. And here's an even detailed response. So she says, I lost all of my confidence after Mandalorian. My style of acting has always just been your first instinct is the right instinct. Do that. Play the reality of the situation. I've never really played a character. Do you know what I mean? I've always played 2 steps removed from myself, in a sense. She's talking about Bo-Katan Kryze. She's talking about before she used to just go all ham and play the character as it was written. But with Bo-Katan, because of Lucasfilm's restrictions and because of how, the character needs to be tied up, how they think it should be, she doesn't have the freedom to play like she wants to play it. And she says, I've always played 2 steps removed from myself. It always felt grounded in some part of my belly of who I was. Bo-Katan is nowhere near who I am as a human being. Her life, what she wants, I didn't understand her. As much as I understand her, I never felt her in my stomach. I never identified with her. I don't know how to find her. It broke me. It just broke me where I started doubting everything about myself. It's not a strong auditioner on tape, and I was having to put myself on tape. I wasn't booking anything, and for 3 years, I basically didn't work. So, yeah, really sad to hear. And here's your thing. Here's why many Star Wars projects are being canceled. Because I think outside of Tony Gilroy, which clearly he himself said he didn't have creative issues, he had a problem with how Disney was budgeting these series. They wanted to go a different direction. And this is why. But in this case, she's saying about how restricted the character is and how as an actress, she can't do what she wants to do, really. And it's hampering her acting style. To this effect, of course, we heard also Mark Hamill reveals why he won't return for Star Wars 10, meaning the next trilogy, which I gotta say, Mark, it's not happening. Like, it's not going to happen. There's so much, like, we discussed recently about Marvel, NTC, and how Bob Iger and what he said. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm going to see you soon, but until then, may the Force be with you.